of the Warriors and the NBA. Even if you're headed to the game last minute, Ticketmaster gets you to the game so you can experience all the sights, sounds, and styles in person. Keep putting that jersey collection to use and get Warriors tickets today at Ticketmaster. Get tickets at Ticketmaster.com/Warriors. See you courtside again soon, Dub Nation.
The lights, the crowd, the moment. When the Warriors take the floor, greatness follows. At Cache Creek Casino Resort, every moment shines. Feel the rush as the reels spin. Breathe in our serene spa. Savor each bite in our award-winning steakhouse. And recharge in the comfort of our luxurious hotel. Cache Creek Casino Resort, proud partner of your Golden State Warriors. Please play responsibly.
Say you're a coach in Chase Center and need to draw up a last-second play. Or you're a fan in Section 212 craving nachos. AI from Google Cloud can help with both. The Warriors are using AI from Google Cloud to break down every move on the court, helping coaches game plan. And for fans, the same AI powers the mobile app, giving you personalized content, highlights, and yes, nachos ordered from your phone. With AI, you're always in the game, even off the court. Google Cloud, the official AI partner of the Golden State Warriors.
To Curry, pump fake, flyby, three ball, got it with the buzzer sounding!
You've been listening to Golden State Warriors basketball on the Warriors Radio Network. Presented by United Airlines. For tickets, visit Warriors.com or call 888-GSW-HOOP.
You wish you were here.
Goes to Mitchell in the corner. That's up. It's good at the buzzer, but no matter. Golden State will escape from Cleveland in the front end of this back-to-back with a 99-97 win. A lot of smiles and hugs down the floor below.
Ruling on the floor of the basket being no good is confirmed following the replay review.
That's no good. I thought it was good. It's 99-94 the final. Didn't matter either way. And the Warriors get back to 500, 12 wins, 12 losses. And just head to Chicago brimming with confidence in this scrappy, kind of ugly way that they got it done tonight.
What a win. What a night in Cleveland. Warriors 99, Cavaliers 94. The Warriors do it. Let's count it up. Without Steph Curry, without Jimmy Butler, without Draymond Green, without Al Horford, without D'Anthony Melton, without Seth Curry, and they win in Cleveland 99-94. Welcome into Warriors Wrap-Up on 95.7 The Game. Mark Randy with you once again. It was the Pat Spencer Show. He does something new every single game. It's 3 straight games with 15 or more points for Pat Spencer. He set a new career high with 19 points in his first career start. He had 7 assists. He had 4 boards. He turned the ball over just once. He led the Warriors to a win. He had the biggest, 3 buckets in this basketball game in the fourth quarter when Cleveland got as close as they had really all game long. It wasn't just Pat Spencer, although he was carrying the torch in this one. You had 4 others in double figures. Guy Santos had his best game of the season. He scored 14 points. Buddy Hield scored 13. Quentin Post had 12. Pajemski had 10. It wasn't just those guys either. Moses Moody had a big 9. Trace Jackson Davis, I think, was as effective as he's been all season with 8. 7 Warriors scored 8 or more. 5 scored in double figures. They only had 10 bodies available tonight, and they won this basketball game 99-94. What a win. Wow. What a Warriors win. And we're with you here on Warriors Wrap-Up for the next at least hour, maybe hour and 20 here on 95.7 The Game. If you want to weigh in, you want to join the conversation, give me a call, shoot me a text, 888-957-9570. What do you want to talk about? Pat Spencer? I mean, he's taken all the headlines away. I can't get over this dude's confidence. And to be an NBA player, you got to have a certain level of confidence. But Pat Spencer, with the game on the line, Warriors up 3 in the final, handful of seconds of this basketball game, he's at the free throw line. All he has to do is make one free throw to make it a 2-possession game, and the game is effectively over. He does that, and this guy, on a 2-way contract, turns, looks to the whole arena, and waves bye-bye to Cavalier fans.
Pat Spencer.
And that was GP2, our guest here on 95.7 The Game after the Warriors win, getting in on the action and celebrating Pat Spencer. This guy is just different. He's different. He's on a 2-way contract. He's now played. He's been active in 24 games. As a 2-way guy, you can only do that for 50 games over the course of a regular season. So the Warriors at some point are going to have to get creative to find a way to turn Pat Spencer from a 2-way contract to a full-time contract. Their roster is full. We can talk about that as the night moves along. But man, what a Warrior win. You go into this game. Again, let me list the Warriors injury report. All right? No Steph Curry, no Jimmy Butler, no Draymond Green, no Al Horford, no D'Anthony Melton, and no Seth Curry. All right? That's 6 players that if they were available, they would have logged minutes tonight, I would imagine. 5 of them, you could probably put a starting 5 together with that group. You absolutely could. Steph Curry at the 1, D'Anthony Melton at the 2, Jimmy Butler at the 3, Draymond Green at the 4, and Al Horford at the 5. In fact, I think when the Warriors roster fully came together late this offseason, before the season began, I guess technically it was like the very beginning of training camp when the roster came together with the Kaminga drama of the offseason. They got that done, which allowed them to then sign Melton and Seth Curry and Horford as well. Once the Warriors roster came together, I threw out what I think was probably going to be a Warriors go-to 5 at points this season, specifically when they're fully healthy, and that 5 was the 5 I just listed, all 5 of which did not play, were out with some kind of injury for the Warriors today. Steph Curry, D'Anthony Melton, Jimmy Butler, Draymond Green, Al Horford. That's a pretty decent 5. That might be the Warriors' best 5 at times this season. They all did not play, and it's not like Cleveland is some kind of slouch. They're not off to nearly as good of a start as they were last year. They were like, 20-0 last year. They were nearly on pace for quite a while to win 70 games, which is unheard of in the NBA. They were clearly the best team in the East all regular season. They lost in the second round to Indiana with that magical run by Tyrese Halliburton and the Pacers. They're not off to as good of a start this year. They have had some injury problems. Jarrett Allen's been out for a while. Darius Garland played tonight, but he's been out for a while with a toe issue. They're not nearly as potent right now because of their injuries, but this is not a bad team by any stretch of the imagination. And what the Warriors did going into Cleveland after what happened on Thursday, where you lose a heartbreaker and you get the news that Draymond's also out in this game, you're holding Al Horford out because he can't play in back-to-backs. I would imagine at this point, with Melton playing his first game in 13 months on Thursday, you also don't want him playing back-to-back, so you hold him out. The strategy going into this game, it wasn't like, all right, we're trying to lose tonight, but the strategy was, all right, we're going to make a business decision. It sucks. It's the way of the NBA today. It's also the way of this Warriors team, given how old they are and some of their injury issues. We're going to hold just all of our guys out in one of these games, and we're going to push hard for the other one. The Warriors, I would imagine, are going to get Jimmy Butler, probably Draymond Green, Melton, Seth Curry. We will see available tomorrow. I don't know that for sure. I think Melton and Seth Curry for sure. I feel pretty good about Jimmy Butler being able to play tomorrow as well. We will see how that all plays out. But the Warriors' general strategy going into today and this back-to-back to close this 3-game road trip was, in my opinion, all right, instead of kind of splitting, Draymond misses this game, Jimmy will miss the next game, it was, let's just hold everybody out of this game. We're probably going to lose, and then let's go for the win versus the Bulls. That's also the worst team, and you feel better about your chance to win that game with a relatively healthier Warriors roster tomorrow. What the Warriors did, led by Pat Spencer and Guy Santos and Buddy Hield and Trace Jackson Davis and GP2 and Moses Moody and all these guys, what they said, to hell with that. We're going to win this game anyway. It doesn't matter. And they did that. The Warriors have had a handful of really awesome wins this season. The overtime win in the home opener versus Denver stands out to me. That was where Steph scored 42, and if memory serves, 35 were after halftime. They had the consecutive wins in San Antonio where Steph goes for 46 and then goes for 49. Those three kind of stand out, I think, among all of the other wins for the Warriors in terms of wins of the year. This one, though, it's up there for an entirely different reason because you did it without heroics from Steph. Not just without heroics from Steph, but without Steph at all. Without Steph at all. Without Jimmy Butler at all. Without Draymond Green at all. Without Al Horford at all. Without D'Anthony Melton at all, although he's only played in one game. You've been without him basically for the whole season. What the Warriors did today was really, really impressive. And this is also a really important win. Like, the Warriors right now they kind of been teetering a little bit. The Warriors had been teetering. They were 9-6. Since then, before tonight, they had gone 2-6 in their last 8 games. The Warriors were 2-6 in their last 8. They were staring at maybe 2-7 with the loss today. Then a back-to-back in Chicago tomorrow. As I just laid out, that's probably the game the Warriors circled as the one that they were going for and felt like they could win. But a back-to-back on the road, that's never a given. This is a huge win. You're back to 500 at 12-12. A couple of the more recent losses, the one in Philadelphia, of course, Thursday, where you lose by just 1 point. You had the lead, you couldn't inbound the ball. You turned the ball over, and then the VJ Edgecombe put back at the buzzer, and the Maxey block, and you lose that game. That one, of course, stands out. You easily could have beaten Houston at home. You should have beaten Portland at home. Tonight's win makes you kind of forget about one of those because you stole one away from Cleveland, and you did it being led by Pat Spencer and his 19 points. It was a really rough beginning. It kind of was a very similar beginning to Thursday in Philadelphia. The Warriors scored just 12 points in the first quarter of this game. That means their last two first quarters, 10 points and 12 points. Yet what happened on the other end? The Warriors' defense was there all game long. Cleveland ends up scoring 94 points. They shoot 34.6% from the field. They shoot 24% from deep. Some of this was Cleveland missing shots they normally make. I think if you go and ask their roster and you get an honest answer from those guys, they will probably tell you there were shots that they should have made that they missed. But the Warriors put pressure on them all game long. All game long in this one. Now, it wasn't like a crazy high turnover day for either team. Warriors 14 turnovers. Cleveland 12. You will take that number if you're the Warriors. 14 turnovers, I think, is kind of like at the very high end of what's acceptable for the Warriors. They probably ideally want to be somewhere between, realistically, 11 and 14 turnovers. If they're in that range, I think Steve Kerr's normally going to be pretty happy. They turned the ball over a decent amount in the fourth quarter. I think they only had 9 turnovers through 3. They turned it over 5 times in the fourth. No surprise, that was a quarter where the Cavs outscored the Warriors by 5 points when they turned the ball over 5 times. Largely, though, this was just a game where you force tough shots, you get misses, and you grab some defensive rebounds. The Warriors rebounding in this game, they were out-rebounded by quite a bit. It was specifically because of the Cavs' offensive rebound edge. But when they shoot such a poor percentage, you don't want to have to live that way, but you can live that way. Cleveland got off 21 more shot attempts than the Warriors. How crazy is that? Yet they only made 4 more. Yet the Warriors won this game because they outshot Cleveland from the three-point line. They got to the free throw line early and often. They made 20 of their 23 free throws. They were plus 13 at their free throw line in this game. They were plus 9 from deep in this game. Warriors won a lot of those hustle stats as well. And this was the kind of game that Steve Kerr was waiting to see from the Warriors. Think back to what Steve Kerr said post-game on Thursday in Philly. And in fact, I want to play it for you. Before I do that, though, we want to hear from you guys, Dub Nation. 888-957-9570 to weigh in. Again, 888-957-9570 to call or to text. That's the number to join me here on the air, or to text the Boxer and Gersten Work Injury Attorneys text line. Have you ever felt something like this Pat Spencer experience right now? What he is doing his last 3 games is nothing short of extraordinary. The confidence that this guy has in Philly, pounding his chest and screaming, "I'm that mother bleeper," By the way, Steve Kerr said something about that tonight. You're going to want to hear that. And then waving bye to the Cleveland crowd after he hit the game-sealing free throw. This dude is different, and it's been a lot of fun to watch. Relating to Pat Spencer, and I think relating to the effort tonight for the Warriors, this is what Steve Kerr said on Thursday after the 1-point loss in Philly about why he kept rolling with Pat Spencer in that game. Here's Coach Kerr, again, post-game on Thursday in Philadelphia.
Tonight was a no-brainer. The other night was a tricky decision, but tonight was obvious. Pat was just incredible out there and controlled the game, and he's just about the right stuff. It's organizationally, you just want to stand for something. You want to have an identity, and it's got to be about competitive spirit and just playing together and competing, and that's what was so beautiful about what that group did down the stretch.
Okay, that's Steve Kerr postgame on Thursday. I only play that. I know it's a couple of days old, and we're going to hear from Steve Kerr, fresh and new Steve Kerr sound coming up a little bit later on tonight. I brought that up because that's what he said was the reason why he played Pat Spencer to close the game on Thursday and why Pat Spencer played every second of that fourth quarter on Thursday after he pulled him with about 4 minutes to go in that close loss to OKC at home before the road trip began. And that, to me, took on an answer that was so much more than just complimentary to Pat Spencer. It also was, I'm playing this guy because he's this. I'm also not playing these other guys because they're not that. And what they are not, or at least what they hadn't been, was, competitive. Having a competitive spirit. That's the phrase that Steve Kerr used. He said at one point, first he said that Pat's about the right stuff, and the right stuff that he's talking about is that competitive fire and that desire. And then he also said, organizationally, you want to stand for something. And the thing that he wants the Warriors organization to stand for is effort and intensity and competitive desire. That, to me, is a compliment to Pat Spencer's competitive desire, and it's also a message to the likes of Kaminga, Podziemski, and hell, even Moses Moody as guys that haven't quite been showing that just yet. What was tonight for the Warriors? I think tonight was competitive desire personified. Were the Warriors effective offensively in this game for long stretches? Not really. They scored 12 points in the first quarter. They did score 33 in the second. They got into much more of an offensive rhythm, 27 in the third, 24 in the fourth. But largely this was a game that they just ground out. They had to fight, and they had to get grimy to win this basketball game. And if you're not shooting a good percentage, they shoot 38% from the field in this game. They made a decent amount of their threes, 13 for 35, 37% from the field. This was an effort game. This was a who wants it more kind of game. And Cleveland will probably say, well, they were down Steph, and they were down Jimmy, and they were down Draymond, and yada, yada, yada. Kind of natural human nature to kind of take your foot off the gas as a result, right? And the Warriors have been through that countless times. It's why Steve Kerr kind of gets frustrated when opponents rest or sit their star players versus the Warriors, because it's human nature to say, well, the Bucks are down Giannis. All right, we got Steph Curry and Jimmy Butler and Draymond. We'll be fine, right? Warriors lose that game. Ryan Rollins goes for a career high, and the Warriors lose. Next game, same thing happens in Indiana, right? The Pacers are down like all their starters but Pascal Siakam and Aaron Nesmith. They're down 3 starters and like 2 of their top guys off the bench. And the Warriors say, all right, you know what? I know what just happened in Milwaukee, but this is different. We'll be fine. We can kind of sleepwalk through this game. And you lose that game in Indiana. There's probably some of that happening here with Cleveland tonight. I guarantee there's some of that there. But I promise you, once this game gets to halftime and the Warriors have a lead, and at half they led by 9, 45-36, once that happens, you then get that opposing team's best shot. And in the second half, the Cavs outscored the Warriors, but it was only by 4. The Warriors stood up, they took the Cavs' best shot, and they said, what do you got? You got anything more? Because that ain't enough. That ain't enough. They held Donovan Mitchell to 29 points on 26 shots, made him a volume scorer. Evan Mobley was a volume scorer. How about what Quentin Post did in this game on both ends against Evan Mobley? if you do not watch a lot of Eastern Conference basketball, you might not know how special Evan Mobley is. He was last year's Defensive Player of the Year. And in terms of matchups for big men, Evan Mobley is one of the tougher matchups in basketball for big men. And I thought Quentin Post had himself a pretty darn good game. Now, he was 5 for 14 from the field. I'm talking less about scoring. It's going to be difficult to score on Evan Mobley consistently. I thought Post did some good things around the rim and actually, dribbling, and a couple of really nice passes. By the way, I was more impressed with what he did defensively and on the glass. You get this, your best punch, the best punch from your opponents when you kind of shock them and you have a 9-point lead at halftime, when you're down to just bench guys and G League guys. And Cleveland gave the Warriors their best punch, and the Warriors punched back every single time, and they win this game by 5 points. This was a 3-point basketball game. It was a 3-point game in favor of the Warriors with a handful of minutes left. It was a 4-point game. 92-88 Warriors, 2:18 left. And then Pat Spencer gets a bucket. Warriors go up by 6. Mitchell hit a 3. There was the crazy Pajemski scoop layup around Evan Mobley off the glass and up and in. This was special from the Warriors. And to do it without a starting 5, a legitimate starting 5 on your team, and win this game on the road, considering everything the team has been through the last couple of games, this was impressive and a much-needed win for the Warriors. All right, I see you, Eric and Millbrae, on hold. We got a break in just a minute, Eric, so I don't want to have to ask you to squeeze your call in and make it super quick. Hang out on hold, Eric, and when we come back, we will get to you, I promise. If you want to weigh in, you can join the conversation after Eric at 888-957-9570. That's the number to call. I've also got the YouTube chat up as well, youtube.com/957thegame. If you want to join in, everything we do on YouTube is powered by First NorCal Credit Union. For a low-rate auto loan, apply online or just ask for First NorCal financing at the dealer. I see the YouTubers. The popular topic on the YouTube is Jonathan Kaminga. We will talk about Jonathan Kaminga as well. Kaminga started tonight in place of either Draymond Green or Jimmy Butler. Hard to know exactly who he was starting for. I think probably for Jimmy Butler, but he started. He went 1 for 10 from the field, scored just 4 points in this basketball game. We will talk about Jonathan Kaminga. I saw some good from Kaminga. But I saw some bad from Kaminga as well. We will get into that and a whole lot more. But coming up next, your calls, leading off with Eric in Millbrae. Plus, we will hear from Steve Kerr, who addressed the media postgame. And he swore. Did Steve Kerr swear into a hot mic? We'll find that out when we come back. It's Warriors wrap-up as the Dubs knock off the Cavs in Cleveland, 99-94, led by Pat freaking Spencer. Mark Randy with you. More Warriors wrap-up next on 95.7 The Game.
If you're drowning in IRS debt and can't afford to pay, then you need to take advantage of special IRS tax programs that are available and free yourself from IRS collection efforts once and for all. Due to the financial hardship consumers are facing throughout the country, the Internal Revenue Service has made it easier to settle delinquent tax problems. An open phone line has been established by Community Tax for consumers to call and see if they qualify. Take down this number or store it in your cell phone, but call the Community Tax Helpline at 800-269-3454. If you owe back taxes to the IRS and cannot afford to pay them back, or even if you have years of unfiled tax returns, there's no need to fear anymore. But you have to call the Community Tax Helpline today at 800-269-3454 for the help that you need. Don't take on the IRS alone. They can attack your wages, savings, pension, home, and even your Social Security check. Call 800-269-3454 for your free consultation and to see if you qualify. That's 800-269-3454.
Hey, it's Jonas Knox, and if you're thinking about upgrading your business computers to Lenovo, go straight to the source, Lenovo.com. Why? Because it's your last chance to get their biggest holiday deals on great gear like the ThinkPad X9 14 Aura Edition and Yoga 7i 2-in-1. The best price on a Lenovo is at Lenovo.com, with PCs up to 35% off. So go directly to the source and save big this holiday season, Lenovo.com.
Lenovo. The Golden State Warriors are back, and there's nothing more refreshing than an ice-cold Surfside to enjoy while you cheer on your Warriors. Surfside is only 100 calories, 2 grams of sugar, and 0 bubbles. That's right, no carbonation, so it's easy to sip and enjoy. It's not a seltzer, it's Surfside, proud partner of the Golden State Warriors. Sold in arena and at bars, restaurants, and stores near you. Must be 21. Please drink responsibly.
There's a party at your house, but some are uninvited. Yeah, it's bugs. You've got ants, spiders, maybe a mouse or two. It's a full-blown shindig. But don't let these party crashers ruin your good time. Visit atgopestcontrol.com and let them show those pests the door permanently. Because when the only guests you want are your friends, leave the pests to them. Visit their website today, atcopestcontrol.com, before your house becomes a full-blown infestation. Call 888-900-9697 now for 10% off your initial service.
Injured at work? Don't wait. Every moment counts. You may be entitled to medical care and financial compensation, but time matters. The attorneys at Boxer & Gerson are here to protect your rights and fight for the treatment and support you need. Boxer & Gerson have helped thousands of people across Northern California who were hurt on the job. Don't wait, don't guess. Get answers. Call Boxer & Gerson today at 510-835-8870 or visit boxerlaw.com for a free consultation. Boxer & Gerson, your life is worth the fight.
Celebrating 40 years with extraordinary rewards. Since our humble beginnings, we've believed in setting the standard for luxury, entertainment, and hospitality. This year, we invite you to be part of a defining moment in our story. Join us as we celebrate 4 decades of excellence and experience the unparalleled luxury that has made us a legend. Indulge in the extraordinary. Be part of our legacy. Cash in at Cache Creek Casino Resort.
This is Vanessa Deniston, senior attorney at the Dolan Law Firm.
The Dolan Law Firm handles a diverse line of cases from personal injury to employment law.
We're proud to say the Dolan Law Firm is just as diverse in our attorneys and staff. The Dolan Law Firm consistently achieves outstanding results with over $1 billion in verdicts and settlements.
The Dolan Law Firm, the best, most diverse personal injury and employment law firm we hope you'll never need.
Contact us at dolanlawfirm.com.
Hey, I'm Mike Slater. My dad passed away at the age of 63. It's out of nowhere. Had a stroke. Super hard, obviously, for the whole family, but my dad had life insurance. This is why I have life insurance for my family, for my wife and 4 kids. And the best place to get life insurance is ethos.com because you can do it in 10 minutes. And there's no medical exam and no blood test, just a few health questions. Get life insurance in 10 minutes so your family is protected. Ethos, E-T-H-O-S, ethos.com/play.
At Straight Talk, we know the holidays are your time to say
yes.
So why put up with a wireless company that makes you say
out of data?
Or
no service here?
Switch to Straight Talk and say yes to real unlimited data on a reliable 5G network covered by Verizon. And with a free 5G phone when you activate select plans, someone else in your family can say yes! Available at straighttalk.com and Walmart. Based on RootMetrics State of 5G Report United States 1H 2025. Experiences may vary. Not an endorsement of Verizon. For network management practices, visit straighttalk.com.
It all comes down to this, folks.
Yep, the entire season is on the line. But my throat has officially thrown in the towel.
Sounds like you need Vicks VapoCool drops. They're max strength and vaporize sore throat pain.
Whoa! These VapoCool drops hit fast!
Speaking of fast, did you just see that play?
Yeah, he vaporized that ball.
That pun should have come with a penalty.
Vaporize sore throat pain with Vicks VapoCool drops. Use as directed.
VapoCool. You're listening to 95.7 The Game, KGMZ-FM and HD1 San Francisco on Odyssey Sports Station and the home of the Golden State Warriors and Valkyries. Always live on the free Odyssey app and now coming to you live from the Laughing Monk Studios.
Kaminga holds and sets a screen. Ball to Jackson Davis. He'll go baseline. Stop. Up top to Moody. Bounce past Spencer. Same spot, same shot, same result. Just like that. The lead back to 11. 88-77. And Kenny Atkinson calls time. How about Pat Spencer? He has absolutely, positively no fear.
Now back to Warriors Wrap Up on 95.7 The Game.
This Pat Spencer guy, man, who the hell is he? I'm glad you played that highlight, Cam, because it's a sequence that I wanted to highlight here on Warriors Wrap Up. Welcome back. Mark Randy with you. Dubs knock off the Cavs 99-94 in Cleveland. They win this game by 5. They're down Steph Curry and his brother Seth Curry. They're down Jimmy Butler. They're down Draymond Green. They're down Al Horford. They're down DeAnthony Melton. They go into Cleveland, a really good team on the road, and they win? How? Well, a big part of it was Pat Spencer. Pat Spencer, okay, here's the sequence. That three that you just heard Tim Roy call, played by the great Cam Williams behind the glass, that was the end of the sequence that I want to highlight. I will get to that in a sec. But first, so Warriors go into the fourth quarter with a lead. They led after 3, 72-62. So they're up by 10. 72-62 after 3. And you could just tell, like, for anyone that's going to call in and shoot a text, and Eric, I see you on hold. We'll get to you in a couple minutes. 888-957-9570. At what point did you think the Warriors were going to win this basketball game? I'm curious to know. If you ever felt that way, and maybe it took until the buzzer sounded. Maybe it took until that first Pat Spencer free throw to go up by 4 in the final 10 seconds. When did you feel like the Warriors were going to win this game? Because the Warriors had a 10-point lead going into the fourth, and the only thing I can think is, all right, one, hell of an effort by the Warriors to have this lead going into the fourth, but two, you just know that Donovan Mitchell is going to get going, and this is going to be a game down the stretch. You just know that's going to happen at some point. And that's exactly what happened to begin the fourth quarter. Warriors go up 10 to begin the fourth. But then Donovan Mitchell gets going. He had 5 quick at the end of the third, had an early three-pointer in the fourth quarter. Another Donovan Mitchell drive and score. Then a Mitchell 3. Suddenly it's a 3-point game. The 10-point lead is down to 3. It's 80-77. 8 minutes and 15 seconds left in the fourth quarter. 3-point Warrior lead. 8:15 to go. It's probably the most rhythm Cleveland has had on offense all game. It's probably the most into it the Cleveland fans have been all game. I know probably 99.9% of you Warrior fans that are listening were not in the arena. I wasn't either. I'm here in our studios in San Francisco. It just sounded dead and silent in that arena for like the majority of that game. That was probably when it was the loudest and probably the most difficult for the Warriors to play and to focus and to execute offensively. And what happened? What happened after that Donovan Mitchell 3 to get the Cavs within 3 points? Spencer drives and scores in the post. Then Pat Spencer hits a left-wing three-pointer off a Guy Santos drive-in kick. That's a 5-0 Pat Spencer run. Then a Moses Moody steal. And it eventually leads to another Pat Spencer 3. That was the highlight you just heard from the great Tim Roy. That's an 8-0 Warrior run, all by Pat Spencer. Warriors go up 3 after the Donovan Mitchell push to get the Cavs within 3. How do the Warriors respond? 3 straight possessions, give the ball to Pat Spencer, and he scores 8 points. And the Warriors go back up 11 from 80-77 to 88-77 over about 2 minutes of basketball. Cleveland would push back. They would get back within a handful in the final couple of minutes, but without that 8-0 Pat Spencer run, oh man, Warriors probably lose this basketball game. In the biggest moments, Pat was at his best. I'm going to say only because in today's NBA, it's not a whole lot of points. It is for Pat. It's a new career high, and he deserves all the praise. 19 points is not a ton of points for a single player to score in today's NBA. You got like 5 dudes, I think, averaging 30 or more a game this year. The Warriors have just seen 3 of them. Shea, SGA for OKC, Tyrese Maxey for Philadelphia, and now Donovan Mitchell tonight for Cleveland, who scored 29, but I think he averages right about 30 per game. 19 is not a crazy amount. When you consider that he scored 8 of his 19, not quite half, but somewhat close to half of his points in a 2-minute span in the fourth quarter when the game was the tightest it's been like all second half, that just speaks to who Pat Spencer is. He's got that clutch gene, there's no doubt, and he does not lack for confidence. That was the sequence of the game for me. You're up 3 after leading by 10 for a lot of the second half. What happens? Pat Spencer bucket down low, Pat Spencer 3, Pat Spencer 3. What a sequence for Pat Spencer. What an amazing Warrior win, 99-94. All right, 888-957-9570 if you want to weigh in. We're going to hear from Steve Kerr coming up in a little bit as well. Let's go to Eric in Millbrae, though, who has been very patient. Eric, we appreciate your patience as always. What do you got? You're on Warriors Wrap-Up.
Hey, what's going on, man? Just a hell of a win tonight. This has been such a wacky, topsy-turvy season for the Dubs. They win games you don't expect it to. They lose to teams that you think they should beat. Tonight was just another causing of that. You thinking the Cavs are going to come out and just throttle the Warriors, and one of the most potent teams of Mitchell's probably going to go for a 50-piece, and I don't know how in the hell they held one of the most post-scoring teams to 94 points.
Yep.
That's going to be one of their season lows. Just all in all. And Pat Spencer, man, this guy's fearless. I love his moxie. I love his grit. He loves going at the crowd there, just like he did in Philly. This kid's impressive, man. And it's unfortunate he's on that two-way deal because I think he would probably take minutes and be a regular in the rotation. So, unfortunate they got to use him wisely because I only think he's got, about 20-plus games they could use throughout the rest of the regular season. Does that also apply to playoffs, or can he be in the standard rotation player in the playoffs? A two-way deal.
No, you're not eligible for the playoffs. I'm pretty sure you're not eligible for the playoffs if you're on a two-way deal.
Oh, man, that blows, man. But this Pat Spencer, next season, signed this guy to a guaranteed deal because he reminds me of, T.J. McConnell from the Pacers. He just doesn't look my lunch, but when he's on in that court, the guy just makes things happen, and that's what Pat Spencer is doing. And just willing this team to, and I just love the moxie of this kid. And this kid's going to be hopefully part of the regular for the Warriors because I know if he's available, a bunch of teams watching this guy are going to probably want to swoop him up and sign him next season. So just an impressive win, man, to take down one of the top teams. And now they got to finish strong, though. You got a struggling Bulls team tomorrow night coming off a big-time win. I know it's a back-to-back, but still, the Bulls aren't much. And if the Warriors just play their game, and Kaminga, he's got to be that guy, man. He thinks he's going to be a star, and I know he wants his way out of here. And if he wants that, he's got to show he can be a player. He can't no-show against the night. Luckily, Spence bailed everybody out. So this was a big-time win, and hopefully you can finish strong. That's a bad Bulls team, and I'm hoping the Warriors don't have a letdown because it'll be just like them with the way the season's going to lose to a struggling Bulls team out there, beating one of the top teams in the East. So, hey, we're going to tell him Spencer is becoming a wizard in the Bay Area. Thanks for the time, man.
Yeah, appreciate the call, Eric. Yeah. So, okay, the way this Pat Spencer thing works, and it's just another one of like the quirky NBA rules. Pat Spencer's on a two-way contract, which means theoretically it's supposed to mean that he splits time between the NBA squad and that team's G League team. So the Santa Cruz Warriors and the Golden State Warriors. A two-way player, which is just the kind of contract that player is signed to, can be active for the big club, the NBA team, the Golden State Warriors, for 50 games in the regular season. Not play in, but be active for. And while Pat Spencer has not played in every game for the Warriors so far this year, in fact, let's see how many games he's actually participated in. He's played in 15 Warrior games. He's played in 15 of the Warriors' 24. They're 12-12 now. They've played 24 games. That number does not matter. The games played number does not matter. It's the games active for number that matters. And he's been active for all 24 of the Warriors' games. So he only has 26 games left that he can be active for until he's no longer eligible to play for the Warriors again, the Golden State Warriors again this season. So what has to happen is either you eventually run out of games where Pat Spencer can play, or you have to convert his contract from a two-way contract to a full-time, fully guaranteed, full-time NBA contract. And that happens. It's happened for the Warriors in the past. It happens every once in a while across the NBA. For the Warriors, it's a little bit tricky because they currently have a full roster. They don't have a roster spot to do that right now. And even if they did, they are up against the hard cap of the second apron. They're hard capped at the second apron because they used their full mid-level exception to sign Al Horford this offseason. So the Warriors cannot go past the second apron this season. Even if even if Joe Lacob wanted to, and he wanted to spend all the money in the world, they are not allowed to. So they have a limited amount of money that they can still spend on the roster this season. So in order to make it work, and why that matters is because converting Pat Spencer's contract from a two-way deal to a fully guaranteed full-time NBA contract makes it more expensive. You have to fit that under the cap, yada, yada, yada. But you don't even have a roster spot for him right now. So in order to make it happen, you need to clear a roster spot and you need to clear up some money. So if I'm reading the writing on the wall, my best guess is the Warriors make a consolidation trade, whether it's 2 players for 1 or maybe even 3 players for 1. You save a little bit of money in the process. You create a roster spot. The roster spot opens up, and a little bit of money saved allows you to then convert Pat Spencer's contract from a two-way deal to a fully guaranteed deal, and that 50-game limit that he can only be active for 50 games, that goes out of the window, and he can play in every single game. He'd be eligible for the postseason and all of that. That's my read on the situation. I also think, given that he has been active for every Warrior game this year, it does make me feel confident that they believe they can pull something like that off. But who knows? Maybe until the last 3-4 games, they haven't felt like they would need it from Pat Spencer. I think we've seen it for quite a while. When Steph Curry goes out and goes down, Pat Spencer's value multiplies by tenfold, because he is one of the few players the Warriors have that can actually attack the paint and create an advantage on the floor, whether it's for himself or for somebody else. 7 assists tonight, 6 assists on Tuesday versus OKC. Remember that game in Miami when all the Warriors veterans sat? He had 13 assists in that game. It's not just the scoring. In the last 3 games, 17 points, 16 points, 19 points. It's also the assist numbers, averaging 5 assists per game in his last 3, averaging 16.5 points, 5 assists per game in his last 3. That's pretty darn good. And while you can only really accomplish what you want this year if Steph is healthy, it is very valuable to know that there is somebody that not stepping in and replacing what Steph does. Nobody can do that. Steph's one of the 5 best players to ever play the game of basketball, in my humble opinion. Definitely top 10. I think he's approaching top 5, if not already there. But Pat Spencer gives the Warriors something that they really need when Steph isn't there, that I don't think there's really anybody else on the roster that can do. So if that's the value that a certain player has, I think he's worth finding a way to make him a full-time player on your roster. And because he has been active in every single game, and those active determinations are what count against the count of 50 that he can only play in 50 or be active in 50, not the games played. The fact that there's probably a handful of games that Pat has been active for, but Steve Kerr knew he was not going to play. If they were concerned that they're going to run up to the point where they need Pat, but they can't play him anymore because of the two-way contract rules, they would have made him inactive for those games that he did not play in. And because they have not done that, that to me signals either one of 2 things. 1, they didn't realize they needed him until maybe now, or 2, they feel good about their ability to create a roster spot, get enough money, and convert his contract. I choose to believe it's number 2, because I think that the Warriors, led by Steve Kerr and Mike Dunleavy, have seen what I've seen, what we've all seen from Pat Spencer in those games that Steph Curry misses. 888-957-9570 if you want to weigh in. Warriors beat the Cavs 99-94, led by a career-high 19 from Pat Spencer. This was not just the Pat Spencer show. I know he's the story of the week, and rightly so. He's been amazing. Guy Santos. Man, what Guy Santos did today with hustle plays, with actually putting the ball on the floor and scoring around the rim, hit a couple of really big threes in this game. I thought Pat was great. I thought Guy had a really awesome game. Quentin Post, you look at the box score, Post was a -10. I think that's misleading, and his 5 for 14 from the field kind of stands out as not great. I thought Quentin Post and what he had to do going up against Evan Mobley in this game, I thought he was awesome. And especially what he did defensively against Evan Mobley. Mobley was 8 for 19 from the field. And that is a lot of Quentin Post on him. I also thought TJD cameoed and played pretty good basketball as well. Missed a couple of bunnies at the rim, which is kind of a running thing for him. But the Warriors, I think the story of the day is it is a strength in numbers win for the Warriors in this game. Absolutely. All right. We're going to hear from Steve here coming up in a bit, but right now back out to the phone lines, 888-957-9570. Tyler is in San Ramon and wants to weigh in. What's up, Tyler? You're on Warriors Wrap-Up with Grandy on 95.7 The Game. What do you got?
Yeah, good evening. Good Warriors win. And I just kind of wanted to talk about Pat Spencer and how it could potentially have future implications with regards to like a bigger trade. I know you guys have talked about like the Giannis trade. I also think that with all the Kaminga contract talks over the summer, they needed a contract to be able to kind of hand off, along with whether they decide to do Draymond or Jimmy Butler with regards to that too, and really try to get that player so that they can be able to, one, be able to get Pat Spencer on a lower deal, a more team-friendly deal, but also be able to actually be able to trade Jonathan Kaminga in the future. And I think if he goes unsigned or if you go kind of have a contract dispute that we've all dealt with the Niners, it doesn't really help with the trade value. And so you can kind of see he's been active on every game, so obviously the coaches see something in him, but also the front office sees something too as well, and they have something up their sleeve. And so just kind of food for thought and kind of put this as a placeholder for a future trade, because as soon as they make a trade and create a roster spot, they'll be able to bring Pat Spencer and be able to have a little bit higher impact from Pat Spencer than Pods has been able to do. Buddy's been streaky and being able to do, and then even what Jonathan Kaminga. I mean, tonight just kind of proved how Pat Spencer just has not only an impact on the box score, but on a leadership style.
Yeah, absolutely, Tyler. I think you're right. And you could just tell based on the reactions after the game. This team loves Pat Spencer. Draymond Green was out on the court celebrating with Pat Spencer and kind of had like multiple goes at him after the game. There's a great video of it on the Warriors Twitter, just at Warriors. You'll be able to see it there. I mean, this team is kind of embracing what Pat Spencer has done, and rightly so. And how can you not love him? There are times where, and I felt this a little bit at times this year. If you listen to me on Warriors Wrap-Up, you know I've talked about Pat Spencer a lot, particularly in the games, again, where Steph is out. He just does stuff that no one else can do, and that's desperately needed considering, frankly, how bad this offense is without Steph. Like, it's a win, and we're celebrating a win. The Warriors scored 99 points tonight. They scored 98 points 2 nights ago. Like, the offense without Steph, it's a disaster. It's a disaster. The fact that they could easily be 2-0 in the last 2 games, despite not breaking 100, is because their defense has also not allowed their last 2 opponents to break 100. Like, the defense has been really, really good. But, yeah, like, They need everything they can get offensively, is the point. And when Pat Spencer does something offensively that almost nobody else on the roster does, his value just skyrockets. And when you're playing without Steph, it's kind of what you're left with at that point. And left with sounds rude to Pat. I didn't mean it that way. Left with in terms of you just don't really have any other course of action. Like, is your course of action give Podziemski the ball at the top of the key and let him try to drive past somebody and create? It happens a couple of times. He had a really nice drive and a wraparound pass underneath to, I believe it was Quentin Post for a dunk. That happened, I think, in the second quarter. Really nice play there. Moses Moody, a couple of nice drives and finishes. But for the most part, if you're asking a non-Steph, non-Jimmy Warrior player to just beat his guy off the dribble and either score down low or create an open shot for somebody else, it's not going to go well. Unless it's Pat Spencer. And that's just the reality, I think, of this Warriors roster. When it comes to a trade in order to move a couple of guys out to create a roster spot and have Pat Spencer fill that roster spot, obviously the common name that a lot of Warrior fans point to is Jonathan Kaminga. And that's because there was all the drama of the offseason, and it seems pretty clear that he doesn't want to be a Warrior because of his lack of consistent minutes and role. And we could play the blame game of why that is, and it's a conversation that we've talked about for hours on this station. I don't really think the why matters anymore. I think we got to deal with the reality that it doesn't seem to really be working. and a trade might be the best option for both sides going forward. That can't happen until January 15th at the earliest, when Kaminga is eligible to be traded, and it's going to take a creative move in order to make it work. Warriors have to make the money work. They want to trade away multiple guys and just get one guy back so they can create the open roster spot. You want to save X amount of dollars so you can give that to Pat Spencer and stay under the second apron. There's a lot of moving parts here. I don't think anything's happening anytime soon, because I think any major Warrior trade that we're talking about almost has to include Jonathan Kaminga, unless it is just a simple salary dump to create a roster spot, to save a roster spot, which I suppose is possible. But I don't think the Warriors are going to be doing that ASAP either. So we'll see how it all plays out. I think it's a conversation as the month continues to progress. As far as Jonathan Kaminga is concerned, I thought tonight was a great opportunity for Kaminga. Got a start, which I think is something that he desperately wants. He wants to start. He wants to play 30 minutes. He wants to get up, have the freedom to get up 15 to 20 shots a game. Tonight was his opportunity, and he took advantage early by getting a bunch of shots up. He got 10 shots up in total in 21 and a half minutes tonight. He put up 5 shots in the first 3.5 minutes of this game. Missed them all. And some of them were makeable shots down low. He missed a 3. Overall, again, he finishes 1 for 10 from the field, 4 points, 0 for 3 from deep. I thought his activity was largely pretty good defensively. He got 7 rebounds in this game, had 3 assists, only turned the ball over once. I think he was generally in the right spot defensively. I liked the effort on the defensive glass. He made a couple of nice passes. He had a couple of nice finishes. One nice finish at the rim, 1 for 10 from the field. A couple of nice takes. Couldn't get some of the gimmies to go, which is not great. Largely, though, I think the shot selection is still a major issue. Shot 3 threes. Didn't really ever feel like he was in rhythm jumper-wise. Settled for a couple more threes than I would have liked. And a couple of tough fadeaways where the Warriors are moving the ball excellent. The Warriors in this game made 33 field goals. They had 25 assists. The ball was moving excellently for the Warriors in this game, and it felt like for the majority of Kaminga's shots, it wasn't in the flow of the offense, and that kind of is the story of Jonathan Kaminga. It wasn't really in the flow of the offense. He finishes 1 for 10 in this game, and let me get the number exactly right. I think he only played a couple of minutes in the fourth quarter. He played 2.5 minutes in the fourth quarter, did not attempt a field goal. I do think it's telling in a game where there's no Steph, no Jimmy, no Draymond, no Al Horford, no Melton, no Seth Curry. He still only can play 21.5 minutes and plays just 2.5 minutes in the fourth quarter. That's not because he's physically incapable of it, although he's still relatively fresh off that 7-game absence because of the knee issue, and he was listed on Thursday's injury report with an ankle issue. I don't think this is a physical reason. This is Steve Kerr identifying how he's playing and being like, I don't think he's the best option for us, at least not in major minutes. And that's been the decision 3 straight games. Did not play in the fourth quarter Tuesday versus OKC, a close game. Did not play in the fourth quarter Thursday in Philadelphia, a close game. And only played 2.5 minutes in the fourth quarter tonight, a close game. That to me does not signal physically not ready. That to me signals Steve Kerr, business decision. He's not helping us win enough, so I'm not going to play him. And that is concerning, considering this was the opportunity, and it still is. Maybe Draymond and Jimmy miss tomorrow, and he gets another opportunity. But this was a prime opportunity for Kaminga, not to just put up 20 shots. That's dangerous. You don't want to put that in his head and say, go get yours, put up 20 shots tonight, win or lose, doesn't matter. Go prove that you can score 30. That's not what it is. It's just you're going to have more opportunities to prove that you will make the right decision. Right? If Steph and Jimmy and Draymond are playing, the ball is touching Kaminga's fingertips less often, and he has fewer opportunities to prove that he can make winning plays time and time and time again. Tonight, with all those guys out, you have an opportunity, a prime opportunity to do that, and we didn't see it tonight. Again, I largely liked, I think, the effort on the defensive end, the rebounding, which he needs to do, honestly. The shot selection was not great. And he's missing makeable shots, which is also not great. If you're missing those makeable shots and your shot selection other than those makeable ones is not good, your impact offensively is almost nothing. So I thought it was a wasted opportunity for Kaminga tonight. Steve Kerr is going to mention Jonathan Kaminga. We will hear that and a whole lot more right now. The full Steve Kerr presser in Cleveland after the Warriors knock off the Cavs 99-94. A hell of a win led by Pat Spencer, Guy Santos, Quentin Post, and a handful of others. What a win for the Warriors. They're back to 500 at 12-12. All right, here is Warriors head coach Steve Kerr addressing the media postgame in Cleveland.
How nice that you kind of, I guess, get rewarded for one of those games.
Yeah, I mean, we've watched this 3 games in a row where, we've found a really good groove, played good two-way basketball, and obviously the last game was a gut punch. The OKC one, we played well. They hit huge shots down the stretch. But the other night in Philly, that was a tough one. So it feels great to see the guys respond and come up with a big win against a great team without so many of our guys.
What did you like about your team defense collectively tonight?
We were on a string. We were connected. I thought we did a pretty good job taking care of transition, which was our number one key. They are so fast in transition. They're one of the best teams in the league, scoring in the, first 8 seconds of the clock. They get the ball down the floor, and I thought we took that away. They killed us on the offensive glass, but it wasn't for a lack of effort. Our guys really battled and just stayed with it. So really fun to see them, pull that off.
How much growth have you seen from Pat Spencer, the playmaker, the passer, who's diving people?
Yeah, I mean, it's a pick and roll threat that he brings that is, he just takes care of the ball. He had 1 turnover in, 30 minutes tonight and 7 assists. He just gets us into, really good offensive rhythm and gets guys shots and just creates really good possessions. Even when we don't score, the possessions feel good when he's out there.
Steve, obviously he's got a lot of talent. What do you think has clicked the most for him here?
For Pat?
For Pat the last couple of weeks.
Well, I mean, we've seen the competitiveness. We've seen what a good player he is in the past couple of years, but he's really improved his jump shot. I mean, that's the big thing. He's last year he would turn down a lot of threes, drive in, shoot a lot of floaters, and he's never going to be Steph, but he's a threat out there, and that's what it takes. You have to be a threat from the line to be able to pull the defense out, and I just think the shot quality now that we're getting with him on the floor is way better than it was the last couple of years. And then I think the other thing is that his coach realized that Pat is that much. I think that became clear. Sorry. Am I allowed to say that, or am I going to get in?
It's okay.
Okay.
Did you know it before Philly, or?
No, yeah. I was getting the inkling, it was starting to creep in, but I didn't realize it until he told the world, and tonight it was very clear.
Was that, I heard the celebration kind of in there. Was that about him in particular, or just about the win?
Just the win, it was just such a great team effort. We had so many guys who, came in and chipped in. It was a good team win, and that's what it's supposed to feel like. They're just one agenda, just go win the game, whatever it takes, and everybody did that. It was really fun.
That was pretty pumped after that 3. Like you mentioned, you were pretty pumped.
Who was?
That you were pretty pumped too. What was that moment like for you?
There were a couple of them, right? I think he hit a couple of them. I mean, it's just fun watching a guy who has had to fight for everything to finally get his moment and not only seize it, but grab it by the neck. I mean, this guy is a competitor. He loves the competition. He loves to play. His teammates love playing with him. So it's beautiful to watch when you see something like that happen.
Coach, he's a shooter. Shoot, you know that very well. From your vantage point, does he seem like a throwback to your era at all?
Well, he's just a gamer. I mean, I don't know if he's a throwback. I just think he's a guy that you just want on your team because he'll. Every night, every day at practice, he just brings it. He's the ultimate pro, and I think every guy on our team has a ton of confidence in Pat.
JK's still struggling a little bit. What can you guys do to get him out of the rut he's kind of been in since coming back?
You know, I mean, we've got 15 guys on this team, and every player goes through ups and downs all year. And you know, we're not going to make this a referendum on JK. Like, we had a great win tonight, and some guys, you know, had big nights. Some guys struggled a little bit. We won. That's all that matters. That's all anybody cares about.
Trace plus 15.
Yeah, I thought Trace was great. Really played with force, and you know, just you could feel his energy out there, the way he ran the floor, patrolled the paint. Really fun to see Trace have a night like that.
You said before the game, you said you wanted Paz to get off the ball a bit more.
Yeah.
Be a little more decisive. What do you think? How do you think he did tonight?
Did a great job. You know, he's a really good player, and he just, you know, he wants to be great, and sometimes he's just a little too ambitious out there. And so part of the thinking, bringing him off the bench, was to let him watch the start of the game and remind him that he's got to play how we want him to play, you know, not how he wants to play. And because he's one of the better players in the league at doing that stuff. You know, he's got great feel. He understands the game, but when he starts to try to do too much, it hurts him and it hurts us. So hopefully, you know, this is a good step for him.
The training staff's obviously going to have.
I'm sorry?
The training staff's obviously going to have to say tomorrow in part, but does a win like this make the older guys kind of go, okay, let me try to get out?
Yeah. I mean, I think the older guys, they love when you get wins like this one, and galvanizes the group. Everybody feels good. You move on to the next one. You try to go get another one, and this is how you build momentum with, you know, a win like this. But we got to make sure we capitalize.
Coach, does a win like this with your young talent kind of make you in your mind think of lineup switches when everyone's healthy, mixing the young with the old?
Well, it's tricky, you know, because you get maybe 5 guys back tomorrow, and played 10 tonight. Can't play 15. So, you know, some of the guys who played tonight aren't going to play tomorrow, and it's got to be okay for them and for everybody. This is what it takes to be a great team. You have to be able to sacrifice for the good of the group, and that means some nights are yours, some nights aren't. And fortunately, we got really good guys on our team, and they're committed to each other. And I feel confident that going forward, we'll have a lot of guys who are going to contribute, and every night will be a little different.
All right, that's Steve Kerr postgame tonight in Cleveland after the Warriors knocked off the Cavs 99-94. Down Steph Curry, down Seth Curry, down Jimmy Butler, down Draymond Green, down Al Horford, and down DeAnthony Melton. Down 6. And there was an answer there at the very end. He's talking about, you know, different lineups and combinations, and does a night like tonight, when you get a look at some other players and some other combos, does that kind of change maybe your thought process when you have a fully healthy team? I think interesting there in what Steve Kerr said. He said, you know, a night like tomorrow, when we're going to get 5 guys back, if that's Steve Kerr speaking truthfully, honestly, and maybe just didn't let something slip, like that's Steve Kerr saying everybody but Steph should be back tomorrow. We know Steph's out tomorrow, but he said if we're going to get 5 guys back, 6 guys missed, we know Steph isn't going to play. That means potentially Steve Kerr is expecting the Warriors to get Butler, Draymond, Horford, Melton, and Seth Curry back, which would be a major plus for the Warriors. There's no doubt. A lot of good stuff, though, there from Steve Kerr. Of course, a lot of it was about Pat Spencer. He talked about the defense. The defense was connected. I think he very accurately and deservedly so gave a shout-out to Trace Jackson-Davis, who was good today. He talked about some of the things that Podziemski needs to work on, needs to play the way that the Warriors want him to play. And of late, he hasn't really been doing that because he wants to be great so bad. That's the phrase that Steve Kerr used. The Kaminga question answer was an interesting one. I'm going to play that back for you one more time right here because I think this is the sound that probably caught a lot of people's ears. And I might, if Steve Kerr was listening right now, and I'm pretty positive he isn't because he's all the way out in Cleveland, getting ready to board a plane to Chicago, he probably would be frustrated for me for focusing on this. But when a coach answers a question about a player this way, that generally, sets off alarm bells. Here's Steve Kerr asked about Kaminga's continued struggles. Here's what he said.
We've got 15 guys on this team, and every player goes through ups and downs all year. We're not going to make this a referendum on JK. Like, we had a great win tonight, and some guys, had big nights. Some guys struggled a little bit. We won. That's all that matters. That's all anybody cares about.
When I hear that Steve Kerr answer, my mind immediately goes to that famous Nick Saban quote when he was asked, I think in the middle of a game, or maybe it was pregame in a big game, about his quarterback situation. I think it was by Maria Taylor, who was with ESPN at the time, and he said, I ain't going to tell you, so quit asking. Like that was Steve Kerr essentially saying, I'm not answering the specifics to your question. This was a great win. I'm not talking about Jonathan Kaminga. That sounded like a frustrated Steve Kerr, with not just that he was asked it, he probably expected he was going to get asked it, because this is the third straight game where Kaminga hasn't really been a part of a normal fourth quarter rotation. He played 2.5 minutes in the fourth quarter today. Those are the only fourth quarter minutes he's played in each of the last 3 games. That sounds like a coach who's frustrated by the situation as a whole, and frustrated that he's Kaminga, for whatever reason, still isn't really playing the way that he wants them to play. It's much like Podziemski. I think Podziemski has a longer rope, and that has frustrated a lot of Warrior fans. But what Steve Kerr said about Podziemski, I think, fits Kaminga as well. He said Podziemski needs to play the way the Warriors want him to play. And I think he could say the same exact thing for Kaminga. Instead of saying that, Steve Kerr just cut off the question entirely and did not want to talk about it. He said, I'm not talking about that. We won the game. That should be the story. This is not a referendum on JK. This is not a referendum on JK, which it shouldn't be. That's where a lot of the minds of fans go, and I understand why. Tonight, he was not great. Again, I liked what he did defensively and on the boards. 7 rebounds today, but the shot selection continues to be an issue. And that, I think, when it comes to how the Warriors want Jonathan Kaminga to adjust, I think shot selection is like up there near the very top of things he needs to work on. There was the moment, it was in Minnesota last year, and there's countless examples of this, and for a lot of players. Podziemski's done the same stuff. And this was actually the game. It was right around the same time when you remember Steve Kerr banging on the table post-game, talking about Podziemski, saying he cannot be that guy. That was about Podziemski. Similar thing, though. It's a shot early in the shot clock when Steph is on the floor. It's not a good shot. It's a deep 2, fadeaway, contested jumper. Don't take that shot early in the shot clock when Steph is on the floor. Really at any time, but especially when Steph is on the floor. Those are the kinds of things that have hurt Jonathan Kaminga's consistent playtime, because that kind of stuff really, really upsets Steve Kerr. And I didn't think it was great in that regard tonight either. 1 for 10 from the field. You have nights where you miss shots, and he missed a handful of gimmies. Let me open up his shot chart really quick. Give me a sec as I pull it up. Let's see here. Where are we? Jonathan Kaminga's shot chart. He missed 3 threes. He missed a mid-range jumper, missed 1 on the edge of the key, and then he was 1 for 5 inside the key, most of them right around the rim. He got to the rim. It's great, and a number of those were good looks. He made just 1 of the 5. So shot selection wasn't amazing. I didn't like him settling for those threes. A couple of those ones near the paint were tough fadeaway shots. And then when you did get good shots, you didn't make them. It's tough to have a positive impact offensively when that's your offensive game in a game like this. Doesn't mean it's who he is going forward, but it's who he was tonight in a game where you felt like he had the freedom and the opportunity to really show what he could do offensively, and he didn't quite take advantage. Let's go back to Pat Spencer, though, because he's the story of this game, and much to the chagrin of Steve Kerr. I was talking about Kaminga there. Pat Spencer and this Warriors effort deserves the praise. Let's hear from Pat Spencer. Pat Spencer, post-game, I think talking about the way that he acts on the court with his confidence, waving bye to Cleveland fans, pounding on his chest, screaming, I am that mother bleeper. Spencer, Pat, what do you love about this stuff?
I just like competing. It can be cornhole, ping pong, you name it. I'm competing still. The energy was great in here all night. They're on back-to-back, so they were a little bit tired, I think, initially. A little bit of a slow start, but then you could feel the competition picking up, so I live for that.
Here's Pat Spencer talking about his opportunity and why he's maybe taking all of us by surprise, but does he feel that way? Here's Pat on his limited opportunities to this point.
I've always been confident, man. I just haven't had the chance to really settle in and get an opportunity to play extended minutes, and I've talked about it before. Last year, my role was completely different, so the goal for me was to come in and bring energy. This year, they've allowed me to kind of orchestrate a little bit, have the ball in my hands, get other guys involved, make plays, and so when the coaching staff gives you that level of confidence, it's pretty easy to go out there.
You know what? That's an interesting answer because Pat's talking about kind of the way what we've talked about for a lot of this season. Pat Spencer last year, his word said his role when he played, which wasn't a ton. Pat Spencer last season, how many games did he end up playing? He played 39 games, averaged 6.4 minutes per game. This year, he's played in 15 games, averaging over 14 minutes per game. So more minutes per game in the games that he plays. But last year, his role, in his words, were just come in and bring energy. No, not really going to have the ball in his hands a lot. He's going to be a guy that maybe is putting pressure on a defensive ball handler. He's going to be diving on the floor for loose balls, sneak up behind a big after they get a defensive board and poke it away, right? Like that sort of stuff. The energy stuff. The stuff that Guy Santos does a lot, right? That kind of stuff was his role. He said, and this is not just a now thing, this is not just the last week thing, he said his role this year, a change from the coaching staff that they've talked to him about is, you're going to have the ball in your hands more. You're going to create more. You're going to facilitate more. You're going to get us into our offensive sets. And what that tells me, I think it backs up what I've already said and how I already feel. The fact that the Warriors have made Pat Spencer active in all of their 24 games, despite the fact that he's only played in 15 of them, to me, suggests that because he has a limit, he can only be active for 50 games, and he's nearly halfway there. He's been active for 24. Because he's only been active in 15 of those 24, and the Warriors don't really seem to be worried about limiting the number of times that he is active going forward, they feel pretty confident in their ability to eventually get him a full-time contract. And because Pat Spencer's talking about how it was a thing for the entire season, you're going to be creating offense more, the ball will be in your hands more, that mindset and that shift for the Warriors was not a now thing. That was an off-season thing. And if that's the way the Warriors felt during the off-season, then I think I have pretty good confidence that they feel they can get something done to where they don't have to worry about that 50-game limit for Pat by the time that deadline ultimately comes around. So we shall see how it all plays out. I think we shouldn't be all that worried about Pat Spencer and that 50-game limit. All right, more Pat Spencer. He was asked the last time his shot felt this good. Here's what Pat said.
It's been years. You'll hear a lot of guys talk about it throughout the league. It's not an overnight process. Couldn't shoot the ball at all in college. And first couple years out, had some coaches I worked with and just put the hours in, man. I'm a believer that give me a couple years to figure something out. I'm going to figure it out. And just have a lot of guys that push me to be my best version of myself every day in this organization. So thankful for, I can't name all the player development coaches, but all those guys that have put in the work with me.
All right, there's Pat Spencer. It's really cool that he's getting this shine. There's absolutely no doubt. Guy Santos also spoke post-game. I thought Guy was awesome in this one. Before we talk about Guy, I want to play this Guy Santos cut because he's talking about Pat Spencer. We heard Steve Kerr swear. We didn't hear the swear. We can't do that here on the radio, but he did swear. It's going back to what happened on Thursday. Pat hit a big three, a deep left-wing three in Philly versus the Sixers. I believe the Sixers immediately called a timeout, and kind of in the aftermath, Pat is running down the court, banging on his chest and screaming, "I'm that mother bleeper." You know what word I can't say. Steve Kerr, post-game, had this to say. I'm going to play this for you as well. This is Steve Kerr talking about Pat Spencer, and you're going to hear him say that same thing. Here's Steve Kerr on Pat Spencer.
We've seen the competitiveness. We've seen what a good player he is in the past couple of years, but he's really improved his jump shot. I mean, that's the big thing. He's last year he would turn down a lot of threes, drive in, shoot a lot of floaters, and he's never going to be Steph, but he's a threat out there, and that's what it takes. You have to be a threat from the line to be able to pull the defense out, and I just think the shot quality now that we're getting with him on the floor is way better than it was the last couple of years. And then I think the other thing is that his coach realized that Pat is that much. I think that became clear.
That became clear, and it's hard to not have that become clear and crystallize for you. That's what Steve Kerr said about it. Here's what Guy Santos said about it.
Compliment for Pat, that guy. He's a dad. I don't know if I can say that, Raymond, but I'm gonna say it. Pat is that motherfucker. He's great. He's great to have a guy like that in the team.
That is great, Guy Santos. You can tell he's not sure if he can say it. He at one point says, Raymond Ritter, the Warriors PR president, one of the greatest in the entire NBA at it. He says, can I? Can I say it? And then he just kind of ignores it and just says it anyway. He is that mother bleeper. The Warrior team is feeling Pat Spencer right now. There's no doubt about it. There's no doubt about it. Another teammate talking about Pat Spencer. Here's TJD on Pat.
He's someone that brings energy every day. It doesn't matter where he is. We could be sitting on the plane, just joking around. He's locked. He's bringing energy. In practice, bringing energy. He misses a shot, he literally wants to kill someone. I'm not even joking. He might hurt himself, punching a wall or something. Just that's the type of dude that he is. And we need that on our team. And I feel like if we get more guys like him and we get that energy, it changes our team. And I think that type of energy, we feed off of that. And so I felt like tonight we fed off of that. And I felt like even last game, we fed off that as well. And
this was just an energy win. This was an energy win. The Warriors shot 38% from the field. 38% from the field. And you won a game on the road against a Cleveland team that's not fully healthy, but they got Donovan Mitchell. They got Darius Garland. They got DeAndre Hunter. They've got Evan Mobley. They got dudes. You're down Steph. You're down Jimmy. You're down Draymond. You're down Al. You're down Melton. You're down Seth. And you win this game. When you shoot 38% from the field, was there some luck? Yes. Cleveland missed some shots they normally make. You don't win a game like this on pure luck unless you shoot 55% from the field and make 25 threes. That happens sometimes. When you shoot 38% from the field and you win a game on the road versus a quality basketball team, that was an effort, that was an energy, that was a competitive desire win. That was a will win. That was a who wants it more kind of win, and the Warriors wanted it more. And who set the tone in that regard? It was Pat Spencer. Pat Spencer set the tone there, but he was not the only one doing it. That's what Guy Santos did for every second he was on the floor for, and he was on the floor for 26 and a half minutes tonight. Guy Santos was awesome in this game. Buddy Hield has, I don't know if I've mentioned his name yet tonight. Buddy Hield was 4 for 9 from the field and 3 for 6 from downtown, scored 13 points, had 7 rebounds and 3 assists. Buddy Hield had one of his better games of the year as well. Warriors lose this game without Buddy Hield. The Warriors won this game because they wanted it more than the Cavs. And considering what some of the Warriors' recent games have been, this was a nice change. And after Steve Kerr said post-game Thursday, as an organization, you want to stand for something, and the thing that we want to stand for is having a competitive desire, that, to me, sounded like calling out his team. And how did the team respond tonight? By winning a game on effort and will alone. 99-94 the final. They were all over the place defensively. They forced some tough shots. What Quentin Post did defensively on Evan Mobley, I was impressed. Quentin Post in this game was 5 for 14 from the field. He scored 12 points. He was a -10 in plus-minus. That is, I think, example number 1 of when plus-minus can lie in a single game. I thought Quentin Post was having a hell of a game. I thought he had one of the best games of his career. No lie. I thought he was awesome in this game. That matchup against Evan Mobley is so tough. So tough. And Quentin Post is the kind of big where you get a slow, plodding 7-footer on him. He can make him pay with just spacing out to the three-point line and hitting some shots. because the big doesn't want to get all the way out there. Evan Mobley is a legit 7 feet, has a wingspan like crazy, and has some quickness to him, and has length, and, has some mobility side to side, right? He can take away a big's three and then also not get beat off the dribble by that said big. He is one of the toughest guys to go against. And if you were to say, who's maybe the worst matchup for Quinton Post, a one-on-one matchup over the course of a game, number one is probably Wembanyama, because that's just what Wemby is. Wemby's a nightmare for everybody. Number two might be Evan Mobley. Now, he is the defending defensive player of the year, so this should not be surprising to anybody. But what he is defensively, I think, is the perfect counter to Quinton Post. So Post going 5 for 14 today from the field, not terribly surprising, because Evan Mobley is that good defensively. But he's also, on the flip side, really tough to handle when you're defending him. And I thought Post did a really good job as well. I thought Post was good defensively in this game as well. TJD had some nice moments off the bench. You got contributions from almost everybody that played in this basketball game, and that is what you needed to have in this kind of game where you're down 6 of your best players. 5 potential starting players. Again, I don't want this to be lost on anybody. The Warriors were missing 6 guys. 5 of them, I think, are their best 5. If they're fully healthy, there is a world, and I don't think you have to live that far out in fantasy land to think that this is their best 5. Steph Curry, DeAnthony Melton, Jimmy Butler, Draymond Green, and Al Horford. That is very possibly the Warriors' best 5, and they all were out today. Oh, by the way, so was Seth Curry. And the Warriors won this game in Cleveland. Led by Pat Spencer, led by Guy Santos, Trace Jackson Davis, Quinton Post, Buddy Hield, Brandon Pajemski, Moses Moody, GP2, Jonathan Kaminga, Will Richard. I mean, you got contributions up and down the roster tonight for the Golden State Warriors. Warriors win this game 99-94. They get a much-needed win to get back to 500 at 12-12. Up next for the Warriors, they're in Chicago tomorrow. Chicago, they are reeling right now. Chicago has lost 6 games in a row. They did not play today, so they will not be on a back-to-back. But they've lost 6 consecutive games. And let me just read the teams that they've lost to in these 6 games. They lost to New Orleans. They lost to Charlotte. They lost to Indiana twice. They lost to Orlando. That's all right. Orlando's a good team. And they lost to Brooklyn. They've lost 6 in a row, and 5 of those 6 losses are to some of the worst teams in basketball. Again, New Orleans, Charlotte, Indiana twice, and Brooklyn. And then Orlando. This is a team that is reeling. If you get, as Steve Kerr said, maybe 5 of those 6 veterans that were out, everybody but Steph, if you get all those guys back tomorrow in Chicago, this is a game that you should win. We will see, of course, never easy on a back-to-back. At the end of a trip, we shall see how it all plays out. All right, we got to wrap things up. We will do that with one last call. I see you, Austin. You got in just before the bell. Austin, you got a minute and a half. Make it quick, Austin. What do you got?
Yes, sir. I just want to say I'm going to shout out to Pat, man, for being a floor general. I want to say, like a point guard, getting everybody involved, making everybody flow through the offense. That's what a point guard is supposed to do. And that makes the actual starters take a look at themselves. Man, how can I get the rest of these people involved, the rest of the players like Pat did? Maybe Stephen Curry need to take, help out everybody else around and getting involved in the game also when he gets back on the court. Take a page out of Pat's book. What do you think about that?
Yeah, Austin. I mean, there's no doubt that what Pat Spencer is doing is great tonight because you got to win. It's also something that I think the rest of the team, it becomes really difficult for a Jimmy Butler or a Draymond Green or an Al Horford to step in after they sat out, and Pat Spencer and Guy Santos, just based on effort alone, led the Warriors to a win, and for them to come in and kind of play sluggish, right? It makes it a lot more difficult to do that. And it makes it easier if they do that for Steve Kerr to say, all right, Jimmy, get out here, sit your ass down. You're sitting, we're putting Guy Santos in. That kind of thing can permeate through a locker room and can help out for a time. So I'm interested in seeing what the Warriors' effort level is like, especially with all those veterans back tomorrow in Chicago. That game tips off at 4. Warriors in Chicago versus the Bulls, which means Warriors Live begins at 3. It will be Evan Giddings on that one. So Evan live at 3 for Warriors Live tomorrow. Tip-off is at 4. After that, the Warriors return home for just one game. They have Minnesota on Friday. There's a lot of time off for the Warriors. No game Monday, no game Tuesday, no game Wednesday, no game Thursday. They play Friday, then they're off Saturday, then they play Sunday in Portland, then off Monday, off Tuesday, off Wednesday. After tomorrow's game, the Warriors play 2 games in the next 10 days. After tomorrow, let me say it again. After tomorrow, the Warriors play 2 games in the next 10 days. Let's see if they can go off into this like kind of mini break with a win in Chicago tomorrow, which would be 2 wins in a row, and it would push them to 13-12. We shall see. All right. That'll do it for Warriors Wrap-Up tonight. Before I get out of here, let me remind you that you're listening to 95.7 The Game, KGMZ FM, and HD1 San Francisco, an Odyssey Sports Station, always live on the free Odyssey app, and now broadcasting from the Laughing Monk Studios. Thank you so much for tuning in. For Cam Williams behind the glass, for Steven Risotto as well, doing a lot of work getting all that sound ready for us from the post-game pressers. My name is Mark Randy, signing off. What a day of sports. We just saw some conference championship games end. With all that going on, I'm so grateful for you for hanging out with me tonight here on Warriors Wrap-Up. Apologies for that. They're kicking me off the air, so I'm going to get on out of here. Warriors win in Cleveland, 99-94. They're back to 500 at 12-12. The Pat Spencer era is here. More Warriors basketball tomorrow here on 95.7 The Game.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling.